Hello and welcome to the EMS Handoff podcast. This is David, and along with my co-host Eric McCullough and Bradley Dean, we are your source for all things EMS. And tonight we're welcomed by another I can't say that word. We dysfunctional. We took the red pill, took the blue pill. Something's going to happen tonight. We're not sure what. But we've got a great guest tonight. Following our social media topic, is guys in charge of everything. But before we get started with that tonight, we're going to kick it over to Nashville and Eric McCullough, who's building out everything on our platform side. Eric McCullough, tell us how things are going.
We're finally drying out. We had terrible storms yesterday, and my backyard is finally not flooded, but I'm finally getting dried out. But other than that, everything seems to be okay. At least we're not frozen here.
So we have a little park in our neighborhood, Eric, just 3 minutes from our house. And every time it rains like this, we want to bring the boat out and just float it in the park. There's not a single lake there until it rains. And we're in that boat. I don't know how much hit us, but it was not as bad as they thought it was going to be. But, oh, wow, this week was wild. So
still bad.
All right, going over just back into North Carolina, spending time elsewhere and tossing out that handoff podcast logo in front of 900 virtual candidates. Bradley Dean, what's up?
Hey, just got back in from Pittsburgh. It was great. I want to say thanks to the EMS Update 2021 for letting me come up and be a repeat offender. They were great. And this, we were talking about all the rain and everything else. So I will say the guys from Salisbury the other day made a water rescue. So hats off to them, Halsey and his crew. Just want to make sure that we give them a quick shout out as well.
Hey, that's the first thing. Water hits, the fire guys are out there pulling all those. That forget that whole line that says turn around, don't drown. It makes for some, that's why I think fire guys like fishing so much. Just saying, or at least that helps. You never know. So, all right, before we introduce our guest this evening, we'd like to thank our podcast partner, the Journal of Emergency Medical Services. They've been a tremendous partner to the EMS Handoff podcast. And while we serve as your source for all things EMS in the podcast verse, Jim's has been an industry leader in the profession for many years. So make sure to go by their website, support their efforts to keeping the industry informed, and also check out all of the EMS Handoff episodes there, as well as our other podcast hosts. And make sure to go subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and Google. And don't forget, we're wearing the gear right here. Everybody except our guest. We're going to have to see about getting him one of ours here at some point in time. But don't forget the EMS Handoff merchandise line with our apparel partner, Pursue Outfitters. Go to pursueoutfitters.com/EMS Handoff. And you can find our short sleeve, long sleeve, and hoodie gear. I'm sporting the hoodie right here. Even though we're in spring, it's good for all times of the year. Distinguished or not, we're introducing him now. And the next hour is going to be fun. Jason Patton, 13-year career firefighter, paramedic. And really the part that anybody ever knows about him is the creator of the popular video series of Fire Department Chronicles. And if you just simply take a look at this, 1.8 million followers, 150 million views. And as I was talking to him about just before this episode started, cracking up in the Cracker Barrel. You like that, right?
Yeah.
Last night to his most recent episode. But here's the biggest thing, and I think all firefighters actually love him because of this next part. He's vice president of Fire Department Coffee. There's not a fire station in this country that's not rocking a coffee pot somewhere. So check it out. And he also works as a board member and spokesman for the Heroes Cup, works with the NFL teams such as Boston Bruins to raise money for first responders in need. We know there's a lot of people out there. And the last one is actually a real big topic area for us as well. He works for the Banyan Treatment Centers as an advocate for first responders seeking help for mental health and substance abuse. Big topic area. So we thank him for coming on tonight from shift. So we'll see just how this is. Jason, Did I do you justice there?
That was beautiful, man. That was gorgeous. I mean, literally wherever I go, if you could just walk out there and do that same shit, that'd be great. The only thing Only thing you messed up is you said NFL team. They're NHL. That's a hockey.
Hockey.
And I'm a hockey fan, so I can't believe I said that. NHL. But hey, as soon as we get done, let us know. We can work out a deal. I'll come right there. I'll be your hype man. Like, yeah. Hey, there is no hype needed, man. 180 or 150 million views. What got you into doing what you're doing, man?
I think a lot of it was what everybody does, what all of us do in the stations, whether it's EMS or fire, cops or whatever it is. Like, we get together, we're messing around, we're having a good time. I think that's what I love about brotherhood in general, or sisterhood, or whenever I say brotherhood, I always include women are in there, because some of the girls I work with could literally beat the crap out of me without a doubt. So like there was that camaraderie of coming together, having a good time. And we started doing the, hunting for people for like National Geographics, that kind of thing. And then it just slowly made its way into me making fun of new versions of foot CPR. That's where this has all come to. So
in case y'all haven't seen that yet, that was the video that I was referencing last night, talking about getting all your report and your leg extensions by doing foot CPR out there. So we take a look. You got the Fire Department Chronicles, and nothing's off limits here for you. I've been watching these videos for a little while now. You do stay away from politics. That's one of the things that you kind of warned us about, but you did throw one in there about the debates, and probably one of the funniest videos in believe it or not, my wife, she's in education, but she saw that one, and she actually is the one that sent that one to me. But nothing's off limits. And so over the last little bit, while we've been doing this podcast, social media has been one of the big things. In fact, our last episode with Chief Roan talking about how people get in trouble with social media. So you get together, you have this idea, this medium is out there for you to do this, and you take a unique approach. So why do you pitch things the way you do? So you use a lot of comedy, right? And so why is that your pitch, and how does that work for you?
I think over the history of humans trying to learn things, one of the biggest hurdles is trying to find some kind of transport vehicle to get information from one brain to another, but make it interesting in the same point. So some people, they love hearing statistics and numbers and stuff like that. And some people just enjoy have people scream at them. But for me, like, I loved the fact of creating some kind of comedic jokes, something that will allow you to gain the information, but in a very subliminal way. So, I own a comedy CPR company, and it's an hour and a half of stand-up comedy. And the whole thing is me teaching you how to do CPR all through jokes. Because when you remove that layer of seriousness, especially with mental health or teaching CPR or first aid or whatever it is, there's just an air of wanting to listen. If you're enjoying the process, then you want to actually listen and go through that process, which I thankfully have been able to find something, because there's a little bit of dark humor. I love dark humor. I think it's the greatest thing on the face of the planet, man. Because, it's genuinely, and I saw an article one time that said people that utilize dark humor tend to be more intelligent. I don't know how true that actually is. I think it's someone tooting their own horn. But there's an art to dark humor, like good, tasteful dark humor, and thankfully I've been able to utilize that to kind of disseminate some education throughout my peoples.
That's a good point. Have you found that it has made the education a lot more accessible? Like, when I was teaching, I liked making jokes and humor, often to the chagrin of maybe my superiors, but I also found the same way you did. So have you gotten feedback from them that it was way more fun, it's more accessible, even though you're talking about something very serious?
Yes, especially with the CPR. The CPR has been like, I've never gotten a bad reaction from the CPR classes, because the jokes they're jokes, but they're still respectful. I'm respecting the people that are around me. I'm not making I've been in some classes where someone makes a joke and I'm like, oh, well, yeah, no, please don't ever do that again. But with people love it because it takes away that seriousness in the class. It doesn't need to be there. The comedy CPR class, I always my motto is the life-saving class that'll make you laugh. And when people leave there, they genuinely have much less of a fear of doing CPR because they're no longer associating it with somebody screaming at them, they're going to die. They're associating it with fun, laughter, and being able to help.
So that goes back. So I remember, and we all know going back to school, there's some teacher within school that really kind of brought out you. And I remember I had a freshman science teacher, and one of the things that he mentioned at the very beginning is like, I'm going to teach you one of two ways. It's either going to be funny or disgusting. And those are the things you're going to remember. And I remember more from that individual's class than any. And I have a very similar teaching style now. When I'm in the classroom, it's going to be either funny or disgusting. And when you get done, these individuals that come back to you, talk about this point or this other point. And so let's kind of go into that. It's like, what humor is off limits to you?
It's very situational, right? So like I always tell people, because like social media, I'm sure with the chief that you were speaking with, his big thing is like social media gets people in trouble all the time because you don't joke about politics with people. You just don't do it because you're going to offend 50% of the class. Like that's guaranteed. 50% of the guys you're going to guarantee. You don't. Obviously, race, gender, like any of that kind of stuff. Just don't do it. It's not worth the risk because there's such a broad amount of other information that you can joke about. But in those things, you don't tend to joke about it. And if I have two gender-based jokes that I have in my CPR class, actually. One of them is when I talk about the three biggest things that people do wrong in CPR. Number one is the trampoline. I've watched people, they like get on the chest and they just like bounce off the chest. I say number two tends to be just men. They go way too fast, not deep enough. I call it the rabbit effect. And and it shows these guys because all these guys are like, like get on this fast again, like slow down. I'm like, but then to bring it back, I am like, look, women, you're not without fault. You guys get on there, you go way too slow. You're like, yeah. So like, if you can be tasteful with it, you can be tasteful, then most of the time you're going to get away with it. The number one thing you just cannot do, do not take the station humor and try to bring it into the masses because it will not end well for you, man. It won't. Like, it's funny to us. In that moment, we just saw that dude cut in half, and you're like, oh, half of that guy wasn't doing well. Like that was funny in that moment. But if you go into the masses and you're like, yeah, this guy, he was like cut in half, and I was like, hey, buddy, where are your legs? Like, you're getting, that's it. Thanks for playing. What do you do? So you just can't do it.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a recipe for going to HR.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which could be another joke in itself, but you never mess with HR. Like that's the first thing. So what humor is off limits? HR and bodies cut in. All right. So I got some notes here. We can put in the show notes. Hey, here's the asterisk that like, don't do this stuff. So just like you are right now, you're sitting back, you're at the station doing a job. And what we see a lot of times is people trying to engage. And we're going to talk about kind of right and wrong and building this presence, this brand that you've built and this advocacy that you've built. And we see a lot of people trying to do this, but what we end up seeing is, and we actually just saw it in our state or within our state, Eric and I, using that social media and keeping that fire department side. How is it that you're on the job and you have this other entity per se, and how do you keep both of them clean and going forward and not kind of bridge to create an issue on one or the other?
It's all department based. It's what your department allows. Like, you don't make the rules. If they say no, then it is what it is. There's nothing you can do with it or do about it. My department was very good from the beginning, thankfully. I started to create a platform, started to grow some legs. people were starting to recognize it. They were seeing it. It was starting to be brought up more and more and more. Honestly, I think some of the original issues that I had was from jealousy within my own department, and not because they were jealous of anything I was doing, but that because they couldn't do something similar or something along those lines. I'd say 99% of my department was super, super supportive, wanted to be in the videos, really cool. But there's always that 1% that's just trying to poke. But my chief was very cool. He sat me down and he was like, look, man, I got 3 things to tell you about this. All right. Because some people love it. Some people really hate it, but I think it's cool. So he goes, I got 3 things to tell you, man. Don't do anything stupid. Like, don't ride on the top of the fire truck and try to surf it for a video. Don't put don't put our department logo in anything that you're doing, okay? And if you get fired, you did this to yourself. And I'm like, all right, cool, we got a deal. So, that's why, my beginning videos, I had logos in them, but I removed them. And then anything from there on out, you won't see it, man, because just follow the rules.
Yeah, and that brings up a good point too. Like, do you get this is probably a common sense question because I know where I'm going with this, but I'm just curious what you think. Like, you're probably not doing this by yourself now. I'm sure you got a team of people that probably help you with like production and all. Oh no, it's just you. It's just you. Oh my goodness. Okay. I see. My assumption was wrong.
Actually, so it depends on the video. Most videos I'm shooting by myself. For Fire Department Chronicles, I would say 99% of Fire Department Chronicles videos I'm shooting by myself. If it's like my mental health video that I did, then my little brother comes and films for me. For like my Howball blow dart video, my little brother was helping me at the time because I didn't understand green screens. I didn't understand how to edit in like, Premiere Pro and stuff like that. But eventually my brother was like, hey man, I love you, but I don't want to do this with you anymore. I'm like, all right, that's okay.
That's fair.
So I ended up having to teach myself Premiere, teach myself editing. Like I got a nice camera and all that stuff. But Fire Department Coffee are those videos. Yeah, we have a guy. His name's Bryce. He's incredible. This guy is unbelievable at what he does. Has a ton of Phantom cameras and is just very, very good. So it just depends on the video.
Okay, because and that kind of makes me follow up. My other question is, where do you get? I know where you get the inspiration. It's from the fire department, but is that the primary place you get your inspiration? Like you're on shift, you're like, oh, that would be funny, or is are there other weird places you get it from?
Yeah, I creep through my neighbor's windows and I just stare at them and I'm just thinking,
here's the next asterisk. This is the one thing you do not do. All right. Most of the things are going to be through the fire department, through the calls I'm running, through the things I'm seeing. But recently it's just been life. You just look at what people are doing and you're like, why? Why would you put out a study saying do CPR with your foot? Like, I get it. I get the reason. COVID, I get it. But no, that's just going to end so bad, bro. Like, and then obviously my most recent, and cats. If I just had a cat everywhere I go, random green screen cat just came in for just people that are not watching this on video. A random green screen cat just came through the screen.
Sorry, apparently he missed me while I was going this weekend.
What would be even better if he just took off between each of our different video screens? That would be awesome.
Yeah,
we're gonna need a little help because I can't do that editing yet. I'm sorry, I don't have.
No, but these obviously, my favorite thing lately has been green screening myself into like 911.
I like those movies you do where you green screen yourself into shows and stuff. Those have been one of my favorite things, and the editing's pretty. Yeah. That's why I was like, oh, he's got to have somebody who's helping him with the editing.
Nah, that's me, man. I got a whole studio now. I got a green screen wall and like a bunch of lights and stuff, and just it took time. But I taught myself how to do it, and it's been fun. It literally came through necessity. Literally came to my brother going, "You're on your own, bro. Sorry, I love you. I'm doing this because I love you. Bye."
So Eric, you all jumped into that. That was one of the next things that I had down as my brain as you're talking. I go back, and it seems like every episode I put one of these quotes in there. My favorite television show, The West Wing, but the press secretary for the president is talking to Jay Leno, and it's like, hey. if you could just have the president run into a tree on his bike and he goes, that's so much great content. It's like, so now, as we've seen, Fire Department Chronicles takes on Lone Star or 911 and 911 Lone Star. And it's like some of the ones like my favorite is I guess the liquid hot magma to the chest. And let's just pop that out with the laryngoscope, and
not even it melted 2 McGill forceps, 2 of them. And then the thing that saved him was the freaking Mac blade. Like, really?
Yeah.
So
geologists that commented on that, it was really funny. They were like, no, that's not the way this works.
and I think the only one, and so there's several. I mean, we could probably talk nothing more than just those episodes, but the I-beam through the front windshield on, it's like, could we not just lay the seat back and just take her right out? It's not even touching her.
Not possible, man.
It's kind of thinking outside. So with that, so just out of curiosity, have you got any feedback from those? Has anybody from the 911 brand ever said, hey, what are you doing?
I've had the actors, I've had the actors, the guys on scene, or the guys that are doing the special effects. I've actually had a more than you would think reach out, and they're like, this is freaking awesome, bro.
That is not what I would think they would do. They would say to you.
Yeah. Well, I always joke because people are like, do you think you're going to get in trouble? I mean, I could never predict the future. I don't know. But the people that are enjoying my green screen videos are not watching that show. Like, they're not. Yeah, they're not. No one that's tuning into that show every week is also looking at, my 911 green screen. So I think it's fun. I think anyone that would watch that, I'm not, because I'm not on there ragging on the show, the actors or anything like that. I'm just, there's no way the writers are writing this going, this is medical gold. This is medical gold, guys. This actually happens all the time. I'm doing the MRI one next. They're the one where they had to take apparently our clothing is made of 100% metal, and they had to get naked to go into a malfunctioning MRI machine.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah. Why wouldn't you? Yeah. And I'm sure everybody's super fit. Everybody's fit, but
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in order to get the MRI machine off of him, they used an airbag with a metal coupling on it. I'm like, yes, guys. Perfect.
All right. The logic is overwhelming.
So the next question is are we going to see Jason Patton in the middle of 911 Lone Star? You think you're going to get that phone call?
I said, that would be, no, I don't foresee that phone call happening. I think the closest I'm going to get to ever being on any of those shows would be Tacoma FD. We'll see what happens. I've been, begging those guys, but we'll see what happens. I just keep saying, you don't need to put me on the show. Kill me off. Just let me, everyone will know who the hell I was. I walk out and I bust one joke. It's just one joke. I'm like, look at that guy's feet. I get hit by a bus, and that's it. They're like, hit by a bus.
Their viewership would skyrocket for the first time of people who actually are doing the job.
If they did that and I was like, everybody tune in to watch me get hit by a bus. It's 3 seconds long, but tune in. They would double the reach just for that one.
There'd be live streaming parties on Facebook if you did that and advertised it.
We would host one of them, just to let you know. We'd host one of them. All right. So let's go back into this, because there are a couple of your episodes that you've done where you've really taken on a serious topic. You have, one of the things is you use your platform, your position to really advocate for the profession overall. And I know there's been a couple of newspaper articles that have come out talking about the conditions and in the fire and emergency services being overrated, and podcasters or YouTubers, I guess, have kind of said that as well. And so this is where you're really engaging more than just kind of this fun and sensical kind of thing, but you're really kind of taking that on and using it as an advocacy. So let's talk about that just a little bit. you're taking on some pretty big entities there, whether they're again a social influencer or the news media. What brought you to that realm itself?
It doesn't matter what side I'm on. I hate when people get on to a platform or get on to their, create a news article or whatever it is to genuinely down talk people or talk trash about people when they don't have 100% of the information. Like that's like, you got the Amazing Atheist, that guy, like he's just on this rant about firefighters and he's only taking the small statistical information that goes with his argument, and that's it. And he's right. Like the calls are lowering for fires, but the agencies they're combating that. They're now combining EMS and fire to justify what they're doing, so on and so on. It's not just limited to fire calls. We have to run everything else on the face of the planet. And then people talk trash about the one guy who is in EMS. Said that EMS people, anyone that works in EMS, they shouldn't bitch about how much they get paid because they get paid enough. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, they don't. I know paramedics and EMTs that make $12 an hour, and you're not showing anyone who is an EMS only agency is not showing up to work and sitting around staging at a corner. Like they're getting their faces pounded into the ground and they're earning that money. And I agree, some people could do other things, but it is very difficult to work a second job when you work from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Like what other job are you logging onto after that? I did that when I went through EMT or medic school. I worked 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., got off, drove down to my school, slept in my car for 2 hours and went to school all day. And I did that for 9 months and I almost killed myself. So like it sucked. So I can't imagine someone getting a second job on top of that. So, I think in general, if you're going to say stuff, just be prepared for a rebuttal. And I also am prepared for that one day someone's coming out after me and it'll be fun.
No, I think it's awesome to have somebody that will hold people accountable, and not only like accountable, like in a not in a mean way, but in a funny way. It's like, not only is what you're saying ridiculous, but I'm going to make fun of it. And 500,000 other people are going to help make fun of it with me about this. So it would probably give people some pause at the very least.
Well, and especially that Wall Street Journal one. The girl's like, paramedics aren't making decisions. They have to call the doctors in order to get orders. Like, where are you getting this information from? You know, when's the last time I called a hospital for orders, man? Like, not happening, dude. If I'm calling the doctor at the hospital, because let me tell you something. I don't know about you guys, but any of our doctors here, if I'm like, hey, I want to give this drug, they're like, no, like follow whatever you follow and then bring them here. Like, no, that's not happening. Bro.
Harry Potter, the situation, do not include us.
They're like, I wrote me in your dumbass decision.
Yeah. Whatever magical book you conjure your potions out of, ambulance man, that's what you should be using.
Yeah. 100%, dude. 100%. That's
It's interesting though, because like you see students and they watch these. So, you have students who are watching. It's not just people like us who are veterans who've been in this for a while, but students. And I think the humor kind of gets it to where they get the inside humor before they're inside the group. And they're like, oh, okay. So yeah, this career field has some ways it's going to suck, but this guy at least makes it kind of funny. So it's a little more accessible kind of suck. It's like, what suck do you want to embrace?
You know what? Suck is universal because I was a mechanic before I got into this field. And that sucks, man. I was working really long days. You work on what's called flat rate. So I would do 10-hour days and not make a dime. I would walk out of there, $0 in my pocket. So suck is universal, man. So you might as well make the best of it.
And have a little bit of humor while you're in the midst of doing that. So, let's kind of go to the flip side. We've talked about the happy-go-lucky side and kind of that engagement. We're going to get back to a little bit of that, but let's go to the opposite side of that, because I'm sure that not everybody that you have come in contact, you've already kind of talked about it a little bit, but not everybody is going to like you. And there's probably been a couple of people that said you're not a good person or something of the likes. because we get behind our comments on Facebook and Instagram and all that, and we can say whatever we want to. So I'm sure you've had that negative comments somewhere.
That's, I mean, you are bound to have naysayers no matter what you do. I mean, that guy, David Goggin, have you ever heard of him? I think it's David Goggin.
He's Navy SEAL.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
He's ridiculous. Like, that guy has done things that people can't even dream of. Like, that guy has done the most outrageously ridiculous things you can possibly think of. And there are naysayers against him. How? He's not out there like hurting people, but there are. Steve Miocic, my good friend, got knocked out last night. It was hard for me to watch, man. I wanted to cry watching my good friend get knocked out. But this guy is the most humble human I've ever met. You talk to him and he's just like, the first time I met him when we were filming for Fire Department Coffee, he sat there for 2 hours to talk to me. Never met me a day in my life. Just talked. This is just good people, and people want to talk crap about him. People get this sense of power, this sense of like, they want to feel better than other people, and their only way to do it is to talk crap. So with my videos, like it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. There was a point where people were making fun of me, but if you just say like, Jason, you're really ugly and your face hurts my eyes, and I'm like, all right, well, that's obviously a reflection on you. You have serious, massive problems.
You're like writing up a script. You're like, wait, say that one more time. I can put that
yeah. What was that? Thanks. But anytime somebody comments negatively, if it's a genuine comment, there's two ways I've approached this. If it's just a negative crap bag comment, like they just want to say bad things, I let it happen. I let it flow, because most of the time the comment section fixes that real fast for me. But if it's genuinely somebody says something that, like the comedy CPR video I made, or I had a guy comment there and he was like, "This is complete crap. I can't believe you're teaching people hands-only CPR. What is wrong with you? This killed my wife." I was like, okay, let's dive into that. So he and I ended up privately messaging. And I was like, because he attacked me pretty hard in the first comment. It turned out that this guy had an extreme situation, a 40-minute response time from EMS, like really bad stuff. Because of the area he's in, 40-minute response time. The medic that showed up apparently was not a super nice guy. Just bad. Called the lady on scene, which we can't do that, like, unless it's some extreme situation. So by the time I was finished talking to this guy, he and I were best friends. I just explained everything to him. So sometimes you just got to take 2 seconds to kind of see what's really going on behind the surface.
Well, so when you do stuff like that, it's really hard for me to ask my next question, because I'm going to.
Jason, why are you a giant piece of crap? Like,
it's like, come on, Jay. No. So that's exactly where I was going to, though, because that in itself. So you've got the first videos, and it's really that first step in how we engage that naysayer. Because I've been one of those, and I had this conversation. It's kind of, I guess, my social media epiphany many years ago. Started a Facebook fight, I guess you would say, and talking about the Trendelenburg position and why it works, and the argument against, well, it wasn't Trendelenburg position, it was the fact that you started 2 large bore IVs and gave dopamine and some other stuff that got us pressure up, but it really was that next step. And really, I've kind of had this multiple times since then. You say something, and what is that first response? And I'm sure that first one's like, dude, you're a bad person. You come at me like this. And if you were to just bang that response out, then the next one would be even worse. And no matter what you did after that. So you kind of went into that. And so that's really what I want to kind of go into. So just because they say something bad doesn't mean they're misinformed, they're a bad person, they're this. They may actually have a story there. And I think the way you just said that is really something that is good to discuss and kind of flesh out. Is this guy had a bad experience. And this was a good opportunity to flip that individual back around to being on your side.
Yeah, because everybody has a story. Everybody has a situation. It's life, man. And also what I really love to keep in my own mind, but also try to instill in others, is that especially with EMS, like your beliefs on your drug dosages, on what you do, the fact that you don't shock asystole, you know, what you do in your area is not based off of research that you've done. It's based off of the research that thousands of doctors have done that have you know, disseminated it down to medical directors that tell you what to do in the fields. Because I had somebody one time go, "We don't shock asystole." I'm like, "You don't shock asystole yet? Like, at some point in time, that's going to change." Because number one, I've seen that was actually a last ditch effort that happened that they've been doing here for a little bit. Was after they worked a code for 20 minutes. They got 2 life pack 15s, hooked them up to the person, charged a 720 and blasted them. And it was in last ditch effort to see if it did anything. And so, and from what I've heard straight out of medic's mouth, it worked. And I'm like, that's insane. Like, so, you know, it's like, look, I'll have a discussion with somebody. If they have an argument, we'll go back and forth. We'll see if we can find common ground, but it is very difficult most of the time to truly express your opinion through keyboards, because most people just want to get short, express their opinion, exit, and then, but most of the time, face to face, you can have a decent, or on the phone. This guy, we ended up having a phone call for about 40 minutes, but that's what you're going to do. But also, again, I just love when people get on there, man. They're medical warriors. It is the only way that it works. I'm like, okay. Well, in 6 months, when the AHA is like, screw that, man. Now start using your entire body on top. Just pump them when you're doing CPR. It's body warmth is what's working now. Everyone's going over. Well, that's it. So,
give them the people's elbow.
Yes.
From the top.
Hey, the one thing I'm just going to put this out here. The one thing that I've wanted to do in my career, and so on, you know, it's buried in all the evidence, but it is still there. I want to be the one to just put the recording thumb. And it's like, I spoke to a cardiologist. He's like, I've done it one time in my life. I'm sitting there talking to this guy after procedure, and he's sitting there talking, and next thing you know, he just slumps back. The monitor drops off. He's like, I hit him in the chest, and the guy just keeps talking like nothing ever happened mid-sentence. And I'm like, dude, that's awesome.
I've heard that from multiple people. I've heard that from multiple people that have like, no, I've done it and it works. I'm like, that's insane. You know, they stopped doing it because people were like missing the chest and hitting people in the throat and like, getting the crap beat out of them by a loved one. Like, that's why that stopped. But yeah, I want to do it one day. It's
still in the evidence. You have to dig down. It's still there, but it's one of those that if you're out in the field, you look around, make sure there's no cameras around it.
Yeah. Look, if RNT phenomenon can happen, then that can definitely work. It's got to work. Yeah.
It's got to work. It's got to work. So, just out of curiosity, as we continue this, does Jason Patton have a favorite Jason Patton video?
Which one of myself do I love the most? That's what you're asking.
Do you hate watching your own videos afterwards? You're like, oh, it's published. I don't want to see it.
No, I will watch my own videos on every platform because I've had too many stories where I put something up and been like, no. Like an hour later, I discover it. I'm like, oh God, no, that wasn't what I wanted.
What he's just saying there is, of these 150 million views, 125 of them are in cell.
Oh, 100%. There's a
click.
Dude, I loved my the rebuttal to the Amazing Atheist was probably one of my favorite ones that I've made. With skits. The glove one, when the pandemic first hit, people walking around with their own gloves, eating with the same gloves, that kind of thing. I love that one.
That's one of my favorites.
And it's still happening.
It's
happening.
Still. But you know what, man? Humanity has made its way this far, and people who weren't supposed to make it didn't make it. And that's just, and I may be one of those people one day. You know, I eat a lot of gum. Maybe gum is slowly killing me. So who knows, man? But it's definitely, I'd say those are probably, I've enjoyed those. The defibrillation one is also one of my earliest videos that I really love. Just what if we had to get defibrillated? Like and then what if we had to try all the drugs? I love that one. Just that would be sick. That only came up because I was talking to a bunch of guys here We used to have nitrous oxide in the trucks. We had them, man. Loved it, bro. The guys are like, after 2 years, they had to take it off because the bottles kept emptying out. They all had leaks, sorry.
So we really, we now really know how the Fire Department Chronicles got started.
Through hallucinations.
All right. So we've talked a lot about this. If you had somebody that the next Jason Patton coming up, somebody that's really wanting to get this, has a passion for advocating for his profession and wants to take this route, what do you say to him as far as getting started? You kind of have those rules from your chief, but say that person wants to get started and you had the chance to mentor. What are the 3 things you tell them?
Once it's on the internet, it's on the internet. Like, just whatever you're getting ready to post, before you hit the post button, if the thought in your brain is, should I post this? The answer is always no. 100% always no. Have a soft step. Remember, always aim for the 50%. Is what, like, always aim down the middle. There's no need to offend an entire sect of people just to make a joke, because if you do that, your career's over. And finally, what I tell every single person on social media or anyone that's in our field is, just because you have that First Amendment right does not mean your job's going to protect you. So just enjoy it, man. Express your opinions. Like, yes, but you don't need to blow yourself out of the water to write someone on the internet, because you writing someone on the internet won't write your job. So.
All right. And I would just say, as we go back, I'm going to go back just a minute. One of my favorite episodes, we talked about a couple of them. I'm a big fan of the blue pill and the red pill.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter both of them are laxatives, and either one's still better than being a cop. No offense to our cops out there. Gotta love them. But it's one of those folks that you can always do. You can always expect it. Fire and EMS doesn't talk about cops. It's not a good event. So,
man, listen. People, if you have the gift of being able to express education through humor, man, it's awesome. And I don't think I'm anywhere near the best at it. There are people that are just blow me out of the water, man. And if you have that ability, utilize it, have fun, put content out there, have a really good time. Like, someone's going to find it funny. I think Fenton is hysterical with his big old mustache. And there are some really good people that can do some cool stuff. So, yeah. But don't be a cop.
That may just be our tagline, Eric was asking what our title is going to be, and it might just have to be "Don't be a cop."
Yeah. Don't be a cop with Jason Patton.
I don't know. I might have to fight on that one.
All right. So we've talked a lot about utilizing your passion and engagement. So Jason, if you would just kind of wrap up for our listeners, this is kind of your handoff, your ability to pass that knowledge to the next generation. What's something that everybody should know? Kind of wrap up this episode and just your thoughts and just give it to them real.
It's kind of, I end a lot of things like this, man. Every day is not going to be the greatest day of your life, right? Enjoy the ups when you have the ups, enjoy the downs when you have the downs, or at least deal with them, because your life is not linear. Nothing is ever linear. Try to learn as much from people around you. Some of the greatest people I've personally ever learned from were able to not only say, hey, I'm right, but also say, hey, I'm wrong in the same breath. Because some of the greatest conversations you'll ever have or watch between two people are people that accept the things around them, enjoy the differences around them, and are able to have a conversation and walk away whether you agree with them or not.
Excellent. I'm going to go to my co-host, Bradley, and see if you have any last thoughts or questions for Jason tonight.
Lots of questions, but we'll have to get to those a little later. But for our cop friends, I will say that Fire Department Coffee does have some great donut shop coffee.
Yes.
They don't have donuts, but they got great donut shop coffee.
Not yet. We're getting there. We'll hopefully have a cafe here soon, but yes, Fire Department Coffee. And if you use the code FR15 on firedeptcoffee.com, you get 15% off because we love you guys.
Wow, check that out, right here on the handoff.
What was that again? Say it one more time.
FR15.
FR15. Awesome.
All right, Eric, any last thoughts or questions from you, sir?
Man, no, this has been awesome. I've enjoyed watching your videos over the years. I've been in EMS for 15 years. It's been fun. It's been awesome having humor from culture finally infiltrate our industry in a real way. Yeah. So this has been awesome. I'm just excited to be on with you on this.
I appreciate it, man. I'm going to try to keep them coming. In fact, the next video I'm going to make is exactly what you just talked about, because we had a patient the other day talking to us, mid-sentence went out, cardioverted him, continued in the same sentence when he came out.
That's unbelievable at this point in time. This is where we have to have cameras. It's like, is there not an officer with a body cam that could make that?
Because people don't believe it happens.
Right.
Yeah, so I went to the street and then I was over there and the guy was like, what the fuck?
It's like, dude, you were dead just a second ago. And you kept going like nothing happened.
I've had people like that, man, where they're like, this happened like 6 times in the last month. Yeah, like a wife is like, gee, he just keeps passing out. I swear he does it in the middle of when we're talking. He just passes out, he doesn't want to hear me. And it's like, no, he was dying and then coming back by some miracle of God.
Yeah, no, he had a medical condition. This was serious.
Well, we can't wait to see that. So make sure. Hey, Jason, thank you for coming on. It's been a great episode. We've had a lot of fun. Hopefully our audience will like it as well. So make sure you reach out to him and get that deal on that Fire Department coffee and help him out on those. I think he needs a couple more followers on social media and a few more views on all those. On all those. That just help him out right there. So Jason, definitely something we've enjoyed, which is why we reached out. Just inspire that next gen, because at some point in time, that bald head is not going to be as pretty anymore, and somebody's going to have to take over. So
I don't think I was ever pretty, but thank you for.
Well, okay, I try to help you out there however we can. All right. We're going to end today saying thank you to our guest Jason, but also to all of our audience. We've had some feedback throughout, even while recording this episode, got some great questions. My wife tossed in a couple of them, by the way, so always a good thing. For those of you listening, though, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast platform. You can find us on video on YouTube, so make sure and find out EMS Handoff on YouTube, and go to EMS Today for Gems on Apple, Spotify, and Google. Don't forget to visit the awesomely created website by Eric McCullough at emshandoff.com, and make sure and find all of our gear at Pursuit Outfitters at pursuitoutfitters.com. As we always like to say at the end of each one of our episodes, this is David, and along with our co-host Eric McCullough and Bradley Dean, make sure to take care, stay safe, and always remember the value of your EMS handoff.